K8BYP with some history lesson for you. Not so many of us around remember December 1953. There's some, and you'll find them mostly on CW, and they're good CW operators. So if you're not on 40 meters CW and not learning from these people, you're missing it. So QST magazine and the early radio magazine. See that schematic? Build something. This is back when QST was suited for something more than just toilet paper. I suppose if after reading it, you might use it for that if you had to, but see advanced circuitry and a commercially made piece of equipment. That was a little unusual then. So we get into this magazine and we see contents: operating the BC696 in the TV fringe area. So big, don't know what that is. A 2-control multi-band transmitting unit, filter building, transistor circuitry, improving small receiver performance. In other words, doing stuff. There was no internet to piss your time away on. Of course, here I am using internet. Mobile, a deluxe 5-band mobile transmitter. Remote mobile antenna resonating, which is, I've proven, is a farce. They're not resonant. Beginner, a 220 megahertz station for the beginner. Operating, this is the part I want to focus on. Novice Roundup results, ARRL Field Day, DX Century Club roster. What don't you see there? Okay, features. Seems to us opinion, member correspondence, hints and kinks for doing things. He makes what hams use. New apparatus, something for the ladies. TVI, which is hardware. World above 50 megahertz, which was experimental back then. IRU House DX. Okay, operating news. Station activities are what I want to focus on. As we go flipping through here, we see things to do things with, like a crystal. We see a new Halley. Equipment like that was rare back in the day, and for most of us, unobtainable. Look at that. There is a wiring diagram of a mobile transmitter. Not something somebody bought. It's something somebody did and made. You see, when we reach extra class, and I don't mean a fake extra class license that we got out of a cereal box, but I mean a real extra class like I have, we not only designed, but built and operated equipment like this. This is what the extra class is about. The extra class is supposed to be a corollary to the commercial broadcast license, which I also have. BC696, the old military transmitter. There's a handy-dandy schematic. But how to modify it for operation in the amateur bands and improving it, harmonic reduction and improved stability for command rigs. That's real amateur radio. See that? That kind of looks like what I showed you from Doug about that amplifier. A suggested power splice circuit, but if that doesn't suit you, make your own. Building an antenna array. That's still done. 2-control multi-band transmitting unit. Another transmitter, homebrew. People doing things. Filter building. Circuit design information. Transistor circuitry, introducing people to new technology. Small signal model of a transistor. Teaching transistor circuits and learning. Okay, getting all that is about doing things. Back here starts the commercial section. Viking Mobile Kit, Viking 2, Viking VFO, some commercially made equipment beginning to show up. Hammerland. But you see, all back through here are parts and kits and things to do. Greater crystal stability, doing something better instead of half-ass. See that? Low-pass filter for your rig, something technical. Triad transformers for making and doing things. Ceramics, insulators, supports for UHF for doing things and doing them better. Ohm's law calculator. We have calculators now. Henry, an icon in amateur radio. Reply card. I ought to send that in and ask them why their magazine sucks these days. Halley HT20 transmitter. Some commercially made equipment. A whole lot more than in the 40s. Dow keys, relays, AC type 1050. They're $500 now. Okay, the point of this is to show you what is now in this section. You see that section? That section is on operating. Amateur radio is not a radio operator's radio service. Correction. That section. Those 4 pages. Amateur radio is not about operation. It's about doing things. First page, IARU. QSL bureaus. International Amateur Radio Union. Amateur Radio is international. How's DX? On-air operating, real operation DX. DX reports. So we didn't have mass communication back then. It was teleham and telephone and mail. DXCC awards. See that? DXCC. And then distinguishing radio telephone. That implies these are CW. Morse code, real amateur radio. Operating news. W1AW maintains major schedule after fire. Field day. Ordinary QSOs, ending signals versus verbiage. Ordinary QSOs make a nice balance between avoiding a formula QSO. Don't get into that. Formula QSO means 3 rounds, name, location, signal strength. Second round's what's my rig, and the third round is the XYL's calling, I gotta go. That's worthless. And becoming excessively wordy for the intelligence they transmit. Good procedure is mark of a true communicator. Proper pro signs, proper ending signals, not just sending free text, but sending proper signals. Operating progress attained through activity. Novices should not neglect current code practice opportunities. Now notice, code practice, see that? W1AW, W6JZ. Notice, Northeast, East Coast, W6 was West Coast. None of this illegal operation BS they're doing now by pretending they can have 9 people out here in the country illegally using W1AW's call sign to be able to get out where propagation won't reach. You see, back in the day when they did things with respect and legally, they just got somebody else to do it with their call sign. Announced monthly qualifying runs from W6 OWP and W1AW, not somebody illegally using W1AW's call sign in the 6 call sign area. September FMT, frequency measuring test. This is done in broadcast. It's not done really anymore in amateur since, I don't know when, 20, 30, 40 years ago, we used WWV. But this was back when rigs weren't necessarily on frequency, not necessarily quite so stable. In fact, they weren't quite as stable. So frequency measuring test is developing learning and understanding of getting on the air and seeing that our transmitters are on frequency accurately. The standing of the top measures is presented as usual in terms of parts per million deviation from the official Commercial Frequency Measuring Bureau reading. So at ARRL HQ, they had higher end equipment for people out here to test their lower end equipment. That's doing things technical and observing FCC regulations. Not thumbing their nose at FCC regulations like ARRL does now. Or correction, $$L. Code proficiency program. Why is ARRL hell-bent for leather to get hams on the air but not teach them code? Because they don't want operators. They want people to buy stuff. And pardon me, I'm trying not to break into profanity here. W1AW operating schedule. Eastern Standard Time. Code practice. Code practice. Code practice. ARRL activities. CP, code practice qualifying run. I believe that's what that means. W6OWP on the West Coast, W1AW on the East Coast. None of this illegal use by hams who are not licensed for it of W1AW's call sign that are against regulations. Okay, VHF sweepstakes, novice roundup, CD QSO party. I'm not sure what CD stands for. Back in that day, it might have been civil defense. Frequency measuring test, DX competition, QSO party phone, QSO party CW. Notice what is not there. With the ARRL, civil defense CD. Civil defense would have been the major use of the abbreviation CD, and races, radio amateurs, etc. Doing things, technical things. ARRL affiliate club, honor roll. Various clubs doing things. Business, election notice. Traffic, National Traffic System, MTS need volunteers for when people really handled traffic and really knew how. 54 field day. Brass pounders, real operators. I'll look through here and see if I recognize any of the calls, but they're probably all SK by now. Station activities, what hams are doing. And the end. In here, you don't see this BS of ARRL listing 900 different contests that, by the way, are a violation of FCC regulations. They serve no amateur radio purpose, no purpose for developing amateur radio as an art or development of radio as an art. They are using amateur radio for purposes that are non-technical, doing it on a regular basis, and both those are forbidden by FCC regulations. ARRL is doing it against regulations. Now, I realize ARRL are not licensed, but they're getting hams to do it in violation of regulations so ARRL can get notoriety and make money. That's a disgrace. My short point is there was no such thing as contesting in 1953. There was real amateur radio and real hams with real skills, real knowledge, and operating CW mostly, because phone equipment was scarce, and I'm not sure there was much or any sideband back then. So what amateur radio has become, if it has become a disgrace and if it's dying, it's thanks to ARRL and their lust to make money by getting as many unqualified people licensed as they can who know nothing and never will. See, this is real radio here. See that? Not this modern BS. So, some butthole troll came on my channel trolling, who got deleted and banned immediately, accusing me of being, like others in amateur radio, a gatekeeper. You're a damn Skippy boy. That's what we are. We're keeping the gates from the barbarians like you who know nothing, don't want to know nothing, never will know nothing, and never will do anything except hang out on the internet and make an idiot out of yourself and get an amateur radio to try to make money. You're the problem, not us. Deal with it. Dit dit.